start a Dino Scoop.
Yeah.
Talk about dinosaurs every week.
Dinosaur Watch.
Yeah.
Are there any new ones? Nope.
Nope. No new dinosaurs this week.
We had Dinosaur Week once.
We did do a dinosaur week.
You could do that for Jurassic World
2.
Oh man.
2.
And 3.
World. Also,
Fallen Kingdom.
Or Smash Brothers. It has a single dinosaur in it.
Oh, yeah.
Yoshi.
And his brothers.
all right.
That's true.
Let's
We're
do,
sisters.
Let's do a scoop.
Are we done?
Yep. That's all the scoops we have for you this week. What's up, everybody? Welcome to IGN Game Scoop. I'm your host, Damon Hatfield. Joining me this week is Justin Davis,
Scoop.
Sam Claiborne,
Hey.
and for the first time, Lily Zaldivar is joining us. Welcome, Lily.
Scoop, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
You don't have
may,
to say it.
You may know Lily from the Nintendo Voice Chat podcast. She's on our video team. She's a big Nintendo fan. Also a Cuphead expert.
Yes.
I think so. So
I think the only person I know that beat Cuphead.
the only person.
Really? In the
Yeah.
office?
Yeah. Who else beat?
Barrett,
Cuphead?
Mitchell.
I don't know them.
But,
Never heard of them.
but yeah.
Story checks out.
Well, we've got a great show for you this week. We're going to talk about Luigi's Mansion. It's time. Everything comes back around again. We're going to talk about IGN reviews and how they get made. But first, late last week, Nintendo had a direct, and it directly told us that Smash Brothers is coming this year to Switch.
It didn't directly say a name.
No, it did not. It indirectly said Smash Brothers, the franchise, the series, is coming to Switch.
Yep.
There's some confusion. Is this a new Smash Brothers game, or is this Smash Brothers for Wii?
You settled that already in a conversation earlier.
Well, I had a conversation with Philip Mewson, our Nintendo editor,
What'd
about
you guys
it.
decide?
He believes this is an all-new game.
Yeah.
I do not.
You do not think it's an all-new game. This is what I'm talking about.
I don't know.
Round one.
So
Fight.
I admit I immediately assumed it was the Wii U game, just because I assumed since the Wii U was kind of a neglected console, there are several good games that were released for it that Nintendo would want to get in front of a wider audience, like Mario Kart 8 and like Smash Brothers. So I assumed it would be the Wii U port, but maybe it's not. I don't know. What do you guys think? Justin thinks it is.
Well, I kind of want to immediately walk that back after having said it. I don't know. And this was my hot take on Twitter afterwards, it's like the first time in my life that I almost wish for a port or a definitive edition instead of a new game, because Smash was split, right? And so the 3DS version had its own single player mode, and the Wii U version had a different mode, and they had all different stages, and none of the stages repeated between the two games. And so there's an opportunity to do a definitive, version of Smash 4 on the Switch that brings in, all the levels and all the modes, and then, add in Splatoon characters and a few other goodies. And does that equal a new game? Like, now we're into the philosophical question, Damon, is what is a new game?
Yeah, Street Fighter 2 versus Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
Well, like a Splatoon 2 is like, it's a really, really wonderful game, but it's not much of it's Splatoon 1.5 in a lot of ways, right? So I think that's kind of how they're thinking about it.
Well, kind of. I mean, Splatoon 2, the difference between Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2 is going to be that Octo expansion. Like, while the single player in Splatoon 2 is pretty much a tutorial of how to play the game, the Octo expansion is 80 stages, and it dives deeper into the lore of the whole Inkopolis.
The
This was
deepest,
announced
the,
at the same-
the deepest lore.
Yeah, this is
announced at the
another
same-
announcement
same
from last
time.
week.
Yes. But I personally think that with their Nintendo's like high-end games, I don't think they would port those games. I think that they've directly but then the philosophical question, what equals a new game when you have the same characters?
Yeah.
But I think that
But they ported Mario Kart.
that's true. They did port Mario Kart, but I think that when it comes to like a very high-end game like Super Mario Odyssey, Legend of Zelda, Metroid Prime 4, I think Smash Bros. Fits into that category, that this game is so important to them that they want to make a new game.
I don't want any emails about how we say Smash Bros instead of Smash.
Oh, yeah,
Brothers.
you're right.
Sorry.
It's already...
Never apologize.
It's already too late. They have already written and sent that
I think
email.
it's funny.
I didn't know that was a point of contention.
Yeah, it is.
I didn't even
Bothered
think
some
about it.
Smash Bros is more common than Mario Bros.
Well, okay. Yeah.
I say
first of all, they-
Mario Bros, and there's comments on every episode.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Every time you say it.
Yeah, there's also comments of just delete Justin off the show. So
I was thinking it's been a while since we've gotten a Super Mario Brothers game since Wii U, I guess.
yeah.
Yeah,
Good point.
Well, new
Mario
Super Mar-
Odyssey.
new
There's
Super
no
Mario.
brothers in it, but now Luigi is in it.
Yeah, everyone always talks about the new being the weird thing. We've gotten 4 new Super Mario Brothers games, but they also include the brothers.
Yeah.
And then the standalone Mario games don't. I've never thought about that.
Yeah. Okay, so the new Smash Brothers for Switch could or could not be an all-new game. Lily, would you expect it to have the full roster of the Wii U game at least?
Yes, I believe so.
So there's some licenses that need to be re-upped, like
Yeah,
Pac-Man.
I think those.
What
will,
are the weird ones in that game?
Cloud, Bayonetta.
That's
Yeah,
right. Those are
yeah.
big ones.
But I think
yeah.
Pac-Man.
I think we'll start with like the main roster plus the Splatoon kids, and then maybe in the future we'll get the Bayonetta, Pac-Man, Sonic, like all
It's
of
kind of
those
crazy
later.
the Splatoon kids weren't in the Wii U one.
Do you
even
think-
by the
Yeah.
end?
I think it's because they haven't been as popular until now. Like I think they finally realized that Splatoon is actually worth something to them,
Yeah.
like value wise.
Isn't it true that those kind of generic Splatoon characters that are going to be in Smash are not as popular as like some of the other characters in Splatoon?
Well, I mean,
Like
they're
the
like the
hosts?
main. Yeah, the hosts are probably the most important people,
Yeah.
but as the like base characters that you always see in posters, those are the most two iconic characters, and that's who we also get in Mario Kart.
Squid Girl and Squid Boy.
Yeah, the Squid Kids.
They did confirm
squids.
that Sakurai is coming back. He's been working on
Yeah.
Smash in secret for a while now. So that's great news. That was I was surprised to see them not lean harder into that in the direct and just say, oh, by the way, it's coming from so-and-so. But he confirmed it on Twitter.
He's a
That's
lifer.
awesome.
Well, but it's like the last game, the Wii U and 3DS one, just was famously incredibly challenging. And after it came out, he's kind of like, "Yo, I'm not doing this anymore." It's like Daniel Craig every time he makes a James Bond movie, he's like, "Nah, I'm done."
So
with this.
and right
Then
before
he's
that
like
he had
goes back
done
in.
yeah totally. Right before that he'd done Kid Icarus.
yeah,
Daniel Craig?
Yeah,
No way. It's like a Miyazaki film.
Craig is responsible for those crappy controls.
something that
Hold him
does put a tick box in, oh, this is probably going to be a new game, is that Smash was not a super late Wii U game. It was 2014, so that was 4 years ago.
Well, are you sure about that?
No,
Because 2015 sounds right in my mind.
let me look it up. No, as it was coming out of my mouth, I'm like, that may not actually be right.
Do you think that the last Smash Brothers was called for Wii U and 3DS? Do you think that was a new game compared to Brawl?
Oh yeah,
I think so.
that's my conspiracy
trolling,
theory,
I'm just
by the way. My conspiracy,
But they are
theory-
similar, right? The series is just about expanding characters and new levels.
Yeah,
and
that's the hard part. That's where it's like, oh, is it going to be a port or is it going to be a new
Yeah.
game? It's like, well, technically it is a new game because you'll probably get new stages, probably get new items, and probably get new characters, but you'll still get pretty much Wii
2014.
U
Okay.
and Brawl people. So
I just wanted to clarify.
I think for Wii U and for 3DS was the worst name.
No, it's so clever
yeah.
You
because
like
it's
it?
also Smash 4. It's a pun.
No, that's cute. I like that.
Oh,
I never put that
get
together.
I
But-
get it.
Super Smash Brothers 4 Wii U.
But the other ones aren't
Brawl.
numbered anyway.
So-
I would really like a new name.
But my conspiracy theory is that's how they're going to dodge the whole discussion we're having right now. Is it's going to be Super Smash Brothers for Switch,
5 Switch.
and then it's going to have some new characters and some new stuff in it. Then it's up to you to figure out like is this like a 4.5 version or a port or
Maybe it'll be
something new?
4 Switch, but the F in FOR is a number 5.
Ooh boy, no the Switch. It'll be 4 Switch, but then the S in Switch will be a 5.
Maybe it'll be Super Smash Brothers for Wii U for Switch.
That's Goldfarb's joke.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, he's not on this episode, so
That's true.
it's my joke now.
Do you think
Taking 'em back.
the past couple years, Nintendo has focused on one game for E3 and like designed its whole booth around that? Do you think it will be Smash Brothers this year?
No.
No, I think they did they had a really big stage this year, and one half was competitive for they had a stage for competitive stuff,
Yeah.
and then the other side was Super Mario Odyssey.
Yeah.
So I think the competitive side will have Super Smash Bros. And we'll also have like Splatoon and ARMS, and then the other side I think will either be like their biggest announcement, which might be Pokemon, might be Metroid Prime 4 if we ever get lucky with that, or something completely different that we haven't heard of.
I think they'll go back to. I think they did Zelda 2 years ago and Mario last year out of necessity and desperation. Like Nintendo. I mean, last year by the time last E3, like the Switch was already.
But it
a
worked
hit,
really
like-
well.
Yeah,
It did work really
awesome.
well, but I just like now they have a whole lineup of games that they want to champion again. And I think my guess is that they'll go back to
it.
it.
I believe the year before that was Amiibo. And remember when
About
we
Mario
were introduced to Amiibo?
Mario Maker.
Mario Maker was a big section of that, I think, same
It
booth.
was at E3.
Yeah, I mean, they might do like separate, like they'll go back to the standard, but they'll have like pictures of their characters that they really care about, like iconic characters. That might be it.
I mean, Smash kind of like as a booth theme works really well for them because you can have all the different Nintendo areas and decorations, but you can also have a competitive area where people go up and compete.
Yeah.
in Smash. So
I'm
like,
hoping they
I think
have
that's like
Luigi's
the
Mansion
easiest thing
there.
for them to do. Well, yeah, if they have another theme, and it was 100% Luigi's Mansion.
Oh, I would lose it. I'd take pictures all over the place. I'd be like, oh, can't come into work.
Because there
Taking
was a
photos.
new old Luigi's Mansion game announced too, which is they're porting the GameCube
Yeah,
Luigi's
hold on.
Mansion.
You're getting a little ahead of ourselves.
No, I'm right in the right place.
We're not talking
No,
about that yet.
I'm reading your paper. I can see.
Speaking of the roster in Smash Brothers for Switch, we have a disturbing suggestion from one of our listeners. They didn't provide their name because their suggestion was so disturbing they didn't want to be
Anonymous.
Able to, yeah, they didn't want to
Disturbing
be
as those
found out.
werewolf babies.
I'm
Yeah.
ready.
They say, hey, Cameo Pogs, love your show. I've been thinking, how likely do you think it is that we will see some Illumination characters in the next Smash Brothers?
Nope.
Seems likely to me that this is part of the deal for them. Illumination being the movie studio making the Mario movie.
Nope.
Maker of Minions.
So first of all, Cameo Pogs is an anagram for GameScoop, and that's really well done.
Ooh.
Good one.
Yeah.
And what were you saying?
No.
You say no,
No.
you hope not, or it won't happen.
I don't think it will happen. I actually think that the Rabbids would show up
Yeah.
faster than the Minions.
Rabbits would be much
Like
more
if-
welcome than
What's the difference?
even though they're the European Minions.
Good question.
I almost answered that as serious as possible, and then
Well-
just
Well,
reeled
you
it-
see, Sam,
Well-
actually,
Well, then
Yellow, white.
the minion
one's
lore
a
clearly
bunny and
dictates-
one's a thing.
yeah.
I don't even know what the Minions would be. I don't think they're going to show up in Smash.
No, you don't think so?
No.
But there
Maybe
is-
someone will mod them.
Well, yeah.
The interesting thing to me is like, should Smash become like a celebration of all video game mascots, or the ones that Nintendo is able to negotiate deals for, or should it mostly stay in the Nintendo family with like the odd
The Pac-Man.
every Smash game ever since Snake showed up in Brawl has had more third-party characters than the one before. I mean, I guess there's only been one more since, but like that's the direction they're trending to, right? So
Yeah.
this one could have Rayman, could have
Geralt.
Crash.
could have Geralt, could have Crash.
Yeah, they did announce the Insane Trilogy is coming to Switch. Is that right?
Yeah.
And,
They did.
and they usually like there's usually like one, I don't know, like Wii Fit Trainer-esque, just completely off the wall character. So I'd like to see maybe the Dragonborn from like Skyrim, or just
I was
something weird
thinking
like
there's
that.
probably characters in Zelda and Mario from last year, which are weird that will be in it, like the big Korok guy or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
Oh, I would see him as like a trophy.
Yeah.
They
Dude,
pull
what
out.
was
But there's got to be some
Hestu?
other. Yeah,
Hestu and Smash, I'm gonna start that.
And he throws dookies at you. And then there's like weird characters in Mario Odyssey too, right? There's some new,
Or like Pauline
I
would
mean,
be good.
maybe
Yeah.
Cappy.
Maybe Cappy.
Just on his own?
Yeah, just Cappy.
Just on his own.
Well, Cappy, Cappy can handle himself.
Yeah, I don't know.
He'll be like the alternate version of Kirby, where instead of Kirby becoming you take over that
Yeah.
person.
That's a good point. If Kirby and Jigglypuff can be in there, what's wrong with Cappy?
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm just
Got those
trying to
weird B tier Pokemon in
work
there.
out the functionality.
That's true. You only get Lucario's A
I don't know.
tier.
I don't think Minions sound
Dario, yeah. And Greninja.
Minions sound that impossible to me. Illumination is the animation studio making the Mario movie.
Yep.
Whatever that.
Yeah, that's the tenuous connection.
And Illumination does what? Despicable Me, Minions, Secret Life of
Grinch.
Pets. They're doing the Grinch.
So maybe the Grinch will be in it.
Yeah, maybe.
Confirmed.
Maybe. Starring Benedict Cumberbatch as the Grinch.
What?
Yeah,
He's
that's the new Grinch, right?
Yeah, he's the voice of the Grinch. Watch the trailer. It's actually
I mean,
pretty.
actually, yeah.
It's pretty.
They just
funny.
painted him green. It's weird.
Oh boy.
Everything else is CG.
Yeah.
everything except for him.
Just a green Cumberbatch up there.
Yep. I don't know. As much as we might not like the Minions, it is far and away Illumination's most successful movie. It's over $1 billion movie, just that one.
The Minions.
Yeah.
The first one.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. I know.
Over Despicable Me.
and the other point
Yeah,
is that
maybe
Nintendo has struggled to, even though the Switch is very successful, they're struggling to attract younger gamers,
Yeah,
which
you
is what Labo's all about.
You make a good
Yeah.
point.
They should
Thank
put
you.
Fortnite in it.
I rest my case.
It's like middle-aged moms sharing Minion memes on Facebook, and then young children that like their gibberish hijinks.
Yep.
Oh man,
Gibberish jinx.
bringing in Minions just to appeal to the younger audience.
You could do it
Nintendo,
kind of
don't
like-
do it.
You
Good
could do
work.
it in Ice
Don't do
Climbers
it.
That's what Pokemon
thing,
is.
where it's like 3 minions stacked together as like one fighter, and then
Hey,
they're
that's true.
into all kinds of goofy situations.
I
How are
don't
we
want
still
it, but
talking
it's
about
logical.
this?
But if there's Minions and Rabbids in it, I don't, that might be too much.
I think
Too much.
Rabbids over Minions.
I would
I would love
agree.
to see Rabid Peach and.
That Rabid Donkey Kong is pretty great.
Oh, that'd be
Yeah,
great.
that one's really good. All right, like Sam mentioned, a port of the GameCube original Luigi's Mansion
Oh, we already talked about that.
was also announced,
Finally.
but not for the platform you may have hoped. Brenton writes in to say, "Hey, GameScoop crew, Brenton from Dallas here. I've got a question for you. That Nintendo Direct got me pumped for the spring and summer, especially that Luigi's Mansion on 3DS announcement. However, I'm perplexed. Why not on Switch too? Captain Toad is getting the release for both systems. Why is Luigi left in the dark?"
Nice,
Ah,
nice.
yeah.
Well done, Brendan.
He has a flashlight.
I was very happy to see the Captain Toad announcement as well, and I will play that again on my Switch with new New Donk City content, or like a new level themed New Donk City. That was
He's
cool.
so happy.
There's I wish I could recall the exact stats, but the thing about these 3DS ports, like they ported Mario Maker and Hyrule Warriors, and maybe we've seen a couple other sort of unusual ports at 3DS. They've all sold like crazy. Like Mario Maker sold, I think it's over 3 million on 3DS now. So I mean that's why, like they keep, because it strikes me as odd too. I'm like,
There's
move
like
on.
70 million 3DSs
Yeah,
out there.
But as for the question is, why not a Switch port? Also, I would guess is because those assets, they're not HD assets, right, for the original.
Like
Luigi's
maybe it's
Mansion.
easier to keep them at that similar resolution on a 3DS.
Yeah.
But I wonder if that means like, will we see like
maybe.
Pikmin 1, or like if like is this like a test bed for like other like GameCube to 3DS pipeline of like.
I mean, yeah, they're still announcing DS games for 2019 as of last week.
Was it widescreen? I can't remember.
What?
The
Luigi's
The
Mansion?
Luigi's Mansion, because I don't
remember.
remember if they
Unlikely.
changed
2013.
it. They might have stretched
Excuse
it.
me, 2003.
No, I know it wasn't originally. It definitely wasn't originally. It's 4x3. So like, I wonder how
It
that's
wasn't
going to work on it.
2003. Was it 2000? No.
2001.
One.
I keep holding out
Yeah, you're
hope
right.
Yeah.
that because Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon is on Nintendo 3DS.
3DS, yeah.
So I'm hoping that they're bringing it onto the Nintendo 3DS, and then later we'll get both games for the Switch. But it will take some time to see how much excitement or how much the sales, like how much they get out of it. It all
I
depends.
think those
on
games
that.
are super boring, so I'm not super excited.
I've actually never played
What?
a Luigi's Mansion.
You're a
Same.
Luigi's Mansion fan?
I am a Luigi's Mansion fan.
All right, so we've got never.
The 3DS one was
We got
really pretty.
fan thinks it's boring, never played.
I think Lily makes a good point though. Like, there's already a connection. Like that franchise already hit 3DS, and I don't recall off the top of my head how that game performed. But maybe that did all right, and so someone said, "Well, let's just put the other one on that same platform where the sequel did okay."
Yeah, it did very well when it came out, and it's a lot longer than the first Luigi's Mansion, so it was very popular.
And then
That was a knock against it for me.
that was longer.
Yeah.
It doesn't end sooner.
I think that game is very pretty.
Yeah.
It was an amazing looking game, and it was in 3D. You can use the slider, you know.
Yeah, there wasn't.
Before Nintendo abandoned that.
There's no specific reason why I never played the original, and it has a really cute. Like,
Oh, there's a specific reason why you didn't play it.
Adios.
Because everybody was like, "Why are we playing a game with Luigi
Luigi.
walking slowly through something when there should be a
He
big?"
gets all freaked out,
Mario
and you have a
platformer.
vacuum, and it's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
But that's why it's great.
I like weird
It's
Nintendo.
weird.
It is weird.
Now
I
give
like
me
weird
my
Nintendo as
Waluigi
well.
game. Please.
We also
What would what's your pitch for the Waluigi game?
Waluigi's fancy mansion, and it's a dating sim.
Fancy.
It's a dating sim.
Yeah,
Who's gonna date Waluigi?
a lot of
You.
people.
The
Well,
simulation's about you.
he always has a rose. Like in Mario Aces, he pulls out a rose when he does well. In Mario Party, he pulls out a rose.
I think he
Where
bought
does
that
he-
rose himself.
Maybe, but he's a true romantic. So at this point, a dating sim for him sounds great, and he just never finds love. And that's the point of Waluigi,
What makes the mansion fancy?
because it's the difference between Luigi's Dark Mansion that doesn't have ghosts; it just has romance.
It's the upside down
Yeah.
version of the castle.
Yep.
It's just fancy. Like the lights work.
Yeah, the lights work. There's no
And there's
vacuums.
no ghosts.
No ghosts.
Yeah.
Only
but there's one ghost you can
being
date.
alone.
Yeah.
One ghost to date.
And then also not coming to Switch. There was a new Sega Genesis collection just announced today.
Scoop.
Another
Sega,
one
what are you doing?
Yeah.
announced for
Scoop
PS4,
it up.
Xbox One, PC. No Switch. It is a good collection of games. Sam did some honest to God video games journalism.
Yeah.
And,
Did some hardcore research today.
and compared the original Sonic's Ultimate Collection.
Yeah,
for
that's the last
gen.
big collection. Although there's a Steam collection too, but when you guys look into the Steam collection, remember that that's not just Genesis games.
The Steam collection is different.
It's a bunch of other things.
Just other
Mo-
Sega.
I think almost all those games are on Steam, so let's just get that out of the way.
Yep.
They're available on Steam. But there was a Sonic's Ultimate Collection, Sonic's Ultimate Mega Drive and Genesis Collection on 2009 systems. Mm-hmm. And then there was a flashback console, which you just reviewed.
Yeah, well, last summer. Yeah, and it was terrible.
Yeah.
And then there's this. And this has the most Genesis games out of all those. That doesn't mean it has the most games because those had like a Game Gear
That
game was
flashback
on the
console
one.
had-
Flashback console was shady.
Master System, Game Gear games, and then shovelware trash.
Yeah.
That never appeared on any.
But it had Mortal Kombat and stuff like that that's not on this
true.
collection. This is mainly Sega
I
stuff.
found that really odd that the flashback had more iconic games that like people would recognize, but this one doesn't. I mean, unless you've like owned a Sega Genesis, which honestly, like I didn't when I was a kid. I had
Yeah.
a Super Mario SNES, so I'm in that majority for that side. So
I think the
to me,
game
it's
collection's
new.
really good in this.
It is a good
like I would
collection.
really, and I even like the 2009 one a lot. Like I thought it was great.
Yeah, oh, that
That's the
Sonic's
first
Ultimate
way
Collection
I
was great,
played
yeah.
So
Beyond
how-
Oasis and Rise Star and a bunch of games.
So how mad are you that it's not on the Switch?
Yeah, it just
I mean, I'm not gonna get hung up on that. So that's like the only thing people
doesn't-
say now.
it doesn't.
I'm not
Why
mad
isn't
that
it
it's
on
not
Switch?
It's just stupid. Like, why?
doesn't make any
it's just
sense.
an unforced error. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, they might be because I saw on the Facebook like Sega would respond with like, "We're just focusing on Xbox, PS4, and Steam," and it's like,
Because
That's a we're
why?
not comment.
Yeah.
We're not
Yeah.
commenting
But
comment.
That's
why
why-
if it's a
though?
virtual console, something.
That's
perfect.
why
That's-
it doesn't seem to make any sense. So actually, again, Philip supposed that this is actually Nintendo that doesn't want a collection of 50 games in one $40
It's possible.
package when
Yeah.
you can sell them each indivially on their forthcoming virtual console, $10 a piece, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's devious
That's a
on
theory.
Nintendo's part.
Yeah.
honestly.
You guys know that Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is not included in any recent collections?
Why?
Yeah.
Well, why?
No one knows.
No one knows.
I think there could be because Michael Jackson's music is in.
Yeah, that's
Three.
what I was just gonna
But that's
say.
like, I mean,
Oh.
that's
That's
like,
more
wow.
of a joke than a reality thing. I mean, it is true.
Yeah, it is true.
All
But
his
but I
estates
like-
don't
right
think there's
now.
anything.
He
stopping.
contributed something to the soundtrack for
Yeah,
Sonic
you know,
3, and he retained the rights to it. Like Sega didn't just have the rights to that music. Like
I find
know,
that so
that's
odd.
just a
Like,
joke,
who
yeah.
messed up the contract on that one?
It's the Ice Zone, right? You can
Yeah.
hear, and it even like samples. It's got like his voice in it.
But on Sonic's Ultimate Collection,
That might all be up.
he made darn sure that Sonic 3 was on it. Sonic himself said,
Mr. Sonic.
"No, we're not doing this without Sonic 3."
Mr. Sonic.
You know Sonic's actual middle name is the with a capital T.
Yeah, I did know that.
I didn't know that.
It's Sonic the. It's from
His
Console
initials
Wars.
are
I learned that.
STH then.
Yes.
It's like Mario.
Yeah, Luigi
Justin.
Mario.
Luigi Mario.
Is that official?
Yeah,
Too?
because they're the Mario Brothers.
And there's 3 timelines.
Yep.
Well, and so like when people say, "Hey Mario," you don't think that it's not like they're just saying, "Yo Claiborne, what's up?"
Well, they say when that happens around Luigi, it's really awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because he's like Mario's my brother's name.
Justin, did you know these Sega Genesis collections always include columns and columns 3,
Yeah.
never columns 2?
It's because
Columns 3, the revenge of columns.
Yeah. Also, the columns 3
Columns
is
2 is Game Gear, right? Did I make that up?
yeah.
I'm doing that a
Columns
lot
3
this episode.
2 turns out just was never released in North America
Well, or on the Genesis.
or on the Genesis.
Yeah.
It was a Japanese arcade game.
Weird.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
on like some arcade system, and then it was It was in one other collection, but Columns 2.
What collection?
You'll never play it.
No, columns 2. That's the subtitle.
Yeah, you'll never play it.
I also like columns 3, the Revenge of Columns.
Yeah, that came out really late too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like Sonic 3D Blast. Is that what it's called? It's
Anyway.
really bad 3D Sonic game for Genesis.
Put everything on Switch. Everything should be
Every
on
video
Switch.
game. I'm
Some
so
stuff.
excited to play Captain Toad.
Not all of it.
I'll
I'd
play Captain
already
Toad.
put my Wii U away, so I didn't play it.
Yeah.
Wait, so the theme of that whole segment was that also Luigi's Mansion wasn't on Switch also. So this whole thing was,
Yeah.
I'm fine with things being on 3DS, all right?
I'm fine with it too. I'm perfectly fine with
I
it.
picked my 3DS.
Dude, there's a
up.
new WarioWare coming out.
Woo, woo, woo.
Yeah, that's not on Switch.
Yeah, but that's okay for now. I mean,
I like Wario.
I don't know. I want Rhythm Heaven to be on Switch, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
It's like a different version of WarioWare.
I have
Yeah, I would like Rhythm Heaven.
a more recent and more powerful Nintendo Portable. It's my Switch. I just want to play everything on that.
I'm going back. I'm going back to DS Lite.
I have both of them.
Yeah, I'd be
now.
fine. If everything came out for DS Lite, I'd be totally cool with that.
I have a 3DS. How many models have they had now? A million of them. I have not the newest one that's got the biggest screen on it, and it's just hard. Like I was playing Animal Crossing. I talked about it on Scoop, and like it's hard to get over that screen. Like it's kind of dim, doesn't look very good.
Yeah, I think
not
the new
very high
3DS look
res.
really good.
So the screens on the newer models do fix that, but man, like it was okay for the time, but like technology's kind of moved on.
When you compare a phone to it,
Yeah.
it's like, wow.
Yeah.
this is
Oh,
really
I
good.
played Warioware Inc., the GBA version, and I played it on my Game Boy Advance SP. Oh boy, that
Because
was
that screen is just backlit.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
not
just
even
backlit.
an
It's
LED
so
screen.
daunting to go back to
LCD,
that after playing like on the Nintendo 2DS. It's weird. but I love
You
it.
can see the big goofy pixels. Even.
Yeah.
I like how it looks.
That's the best WarioWare. First WarioWare is best. WarioWare.
That one on GameCube is so good.
That's Mega Micro Games. I think
yeah,
it's called.
and it's the same game basically, but with multiplayer stuff.
Yep.
And the multiplayer stuff
with
is
the
so
turtles,
fun.
the balancing turtles. My wife and I played that a lot in college.
Yeah, I played it like
She was. I had not wifed her yet.
Unwifed.
Would go on to become my wife.
Free wife.
That and Donkey Konga.
Would become your wife?
Yeah.
That's weird. You played a lot of Donkey Kong. I missed that one.
Yeah.
Did you play Jungle Beat?
Nah. I owned it. I didn't like it.
All right, moving on. We are in March, which means it's time to revisit our retro game library or the retro magazine library. And this time we're not reaching as far back as we normally do. Instead of the early 90s, we're going to reach back 10 years to 2008. I have the spring 2008 issue of Hardcore Gamer magazine.
I'll hold up Kirby for everybody to see.
Super
Look at the art.
Super Smash Brothers Brawl was the
Weird
cover
DK.
feature, and there's a big review,
so
like an
sad.
18-page spread on this game. And I gotta say, you guys, by 2008, video game magazines were not nearly as thick as they were in the early 90s. This
Yeah.
is like a quarter of what an EGM in 1992 would have been.
There were so many pages in EGM that they had to put an EGM 2 out.
Yep.
Yep.
Every month there was 2 EGMs.
Yep.
And they were both like
first
300
one.
pages.
And EGM2
Really?
Yeah.
turned into Expert Gamer, something like that. They changed it to just be a
Yeah, I
guide.
remember.
EGM squared.
Anyway, they review Super Smash Brothers Brawl, gave it 5 out of 5. They also preview Mario Kart for Wii.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Is that considered a good one? People like Mario Kart for Wii?
Yeah.
Is that Double? No, Double Dash. So is it just Mario Kart Wii?
I thought it was Mario Kart.
Double Dash is GameCube.
Yes.
Double Dash is GameCube, and Mario Kart Wii is the one with the plastic steering
called
wheel.
Mario Kart
That
Wii.
is one of the top selling games of all time.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't like.
I
the
don't.
steering
I don't
wheel.
recall. I remember liking the DS one more.
Yeah, maybe.
Around that
but-
time.
Which was Mario Kart 7?
Mario Kart 7.
no,
Yes.
That's
yes.
a
you're right.
3DS.
Yeah,
That's right.
It's difficult. No, wait. You're saying 7 is DS, not 3DS?
No, Mario Kart DS is just Mario Kart DS.
Yes,
Mario Kart
and
7 is
is 3DS.
3DS.
Gotcha.
We did it.
Yeah.
We did it. There's an ad for the Xbox 360 exclusive JRPG Lost Odyssey.
Whoa.
When
I don't even remember that.
Xbox was still trying to court Japanese gamers.
Kept trying. It was like that, and like Blue Dragon was a few years before then. But
IGN gave it an 8.2.
Mistwalker made it.
Yeah, we
Who's
liked
that?
it. It's I think former
Final
Square
Fantasy.
Enix. Yeah. There's a couple ads for Gamecock Games. Anybody remember this publisher,
Yeah, I remember
Gamecock?
that
That
publisher.
spread up
Yeah.
in the late 2000s. This game is for Insecticide.
see an IGN quote.
Yeah, which very well could have been for me because I definitely covered this game. Insecticide, featuring
this.
both heavy action and in-depth detective gameplay.
Definitely a Damon quote.
That's
Sounds
also
like
not even like a positive. You're just describing what's in the game.
Yeah,
like
I
you
know.
say heavy action 3 or 4 times an episode. So,
Yeah, that's true.
Ready for some heavy action?
all right, let's check in with the listeners for some heavy action.
No, there's a couple.
Heavy action.
There's a couple Gamecock games advertisements in here, and this is 2008. And later on this year, they would be bought and go out of business.
What was the? What was it?
Insecticide never came out, right?
Oh, wait,
Yeah,
this
it
came
did.
out.
Yeah,
this
I-
is
I own it.
a DS game.
I own it because I was running a handheld games website at the time, at this exact era.
Did you own Elf Bowling?
What were we gonna say?
Gamecock, there was some controversy. Didn't they?
They bum rushed.
They bum rushed the
Game
stage at the Game Awards. That's right.
At the Game Awards, I think in 2007, maybe they were trying to promote their new game publisher label. And when Ken Levine was walking on the stage to either accept an award or present an award, they bum rushed the stage and had all this
had a man in a chicken
propaganda.
suit,
Yeah, man in a
right?
chicken
What?
suit.
And then I think they thought it was one of those things where in their head, like it's gonna be great, and then
Yeah.
it was like really.
But Ken
cringy
Levine's
and-
left standing there like what? He had to wait for them to leave the stage and then no. Anyway, it's a different
How
time.
How do you go out like that? Oh my god.
and they went out of business.
And then I'm curious what Lily thinks about this. In their review of Smash Bros. Brawl, they call Subspace Emissary a big mistake. That mode.
Really?
Is that true? Is that how people feel about that mode?
The public's come around on this.
Really?
Yeah.
The public
Yeah.
likes
I
it now?
think, yeah, in the beginning I hated it, and
Okay.
I think it's really fun now.
Okay.
It's just more, you have to think about, it's like a round of Cuphead where you have to pay attention to your surroundings while also battling your foes. So that's what I think of that game. Or that stage
interesting. It's
now.
curious.
Well, I remember, originally it was like, oh, this is a much worse, single player mode than we deserve. And then they just didn't even do a single player mode. Everybody's like, well, that's not what we were saying. So now everybody's like, I want Subspace Emissary back. It did have good cutscenes and a good mashup of Nintendo characters in it.
I thought it was fun.
I always like the target breaking stuff. I think that's fun too.
That's actually part of, I mean, not to bring this around to what we were discussing earlier, that's part of the reason I'm anxious about if the new Smash is a whole new game, because I feel like they cracked single player in Wii U and 3DS with, they had sort of the big Subspace Emissary-esque mode, but then they also had the ticket mode, and like they had like 4 or 5 options for single player gameplay for whatever kind of game you wanted.
Hit that punching bag.
Yeah, they figured it out. Like
I love that punching bag.
everybody does.
The baseball.
This is another Gamecock joint. You guys remember Hail to the Chimp?
Yep.
This was a political
Who could forget?
party game that was actually released at retail.
Did you review it?
No, I didn't review it. I don't. Probably like Eric Brudvig reviewed this or something.
Yeah. Seems like a Broadway game.
Seems like a 6 or a 7. They have a feature on niche gaming, and they have a definition of what they consider a niche, and it appealed to me because it
Is
says
that Indiana Jones?
there's some Indiana Jones, a niche. It's a niche film. No, he's like looking for like the whole.
Like,
They just used
like
Indiana
Lost
Jones for
archaeologist. I
Yeah.
get it.
So he says, you may be asking yourself, what's a niche game exactly? This is a surprisingly difficult question to answer. Our modern understanding of niche game is best typified by the PS2 game Disgaea.
Oh,
It inspired
yeah. Wow,
millions
there
of
you go.
posts and heavy hype online, but it really only moved around 200,000 copies. Anything that inspires hardcore devotion despite being likely to suffer relatively low sales and low print runs fits the definition of niche we're using for this article. The most common genre for niche titles is RPGs. That sounds about right. I guess maybe I'm just a niche gamer at heart.
Hey, on the cover, it advertises both new games and old games. What are the old games?
Well, in the back, there's I'll show you in a second here. They review Ninja Gaiden Dragon Sword for the DS, which is cool. Do you guys remember how that one was played?
I just like how all the games for the DS at that time
Yeah, I
had
was just
things
gonna
with
say.
DNS
Yeah,
in them.
I know. So the DS flip left like this. This is one of those games you
Yeah,
held
it turned sideways.
You had to
on
turn
the sides, and then so you're like watching Ryu on one side and drawing his path. With your
I played that
stylus.
game.
Right. Yeah, that game was good. The game was cool. Finally,
There was Advance Wars Dual Strike.
this is why they say old games too. They have a 2-page feature on Garfield for the Famicom that was never released in the U.S.
Wow, that looks awesome.
Yeah.
That does look awesome.
Look at Garfield hamming it up.
The faces of
I'm
Garfield.
torn between like just professional respect for devoting a 2-page spread to that, but then also like, oh well, I wonder why your magazine.
If Garfield would have been on the cover, it would have been fine.
Yep.
With that artwork too,
Yeah, for sure.
drawn like
Color
that.
pencils,
Yes.
realistic eyeballs.
They do short reviews of downloadable games, and do you remember this game Undertow for Xbox Live Arcade?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
the first game from Chair.
Was it? Did it precede Shadow Complex?
Yep.
Wow,
I
okay.
believe it was free or the demo was free in some way.
They gave it away for free to make up for Xbox Live going
Yeah.
down over Christmas
Yes,
2007.
and everybody got it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I always like that because your character's so little, and you could explore
Well,
these big
there's a big discrepancy. Hardcore Gamer gave it 1.5 stars out of 5.
Yeah, I think
IGN gave it an 8.7.
I thought Undertow was pretty bad.
It's a pretty big discrepancy.
It's pretty free though.
There is
That's how
a
you get it.
Yeah.
That's how you get that 8.
there's either
You get
I can't
that
tell.
8.
Yeah, there's a preview of Burnout Paradise,
Nice.
which was just re-released
Yeah.
this week.
I wrote the strategy guide for that in 2009.
There you go. And on the back cover is just a picture of Kratos for the PSP version. I don't know.
Man.
Is that Chains of Olympus? I forget which.
Awake.
Yes, I wrote the strategy guide for that as well.
PSP.
That one. That's the PSP version.
Yeah,
And
PSP.
the Vita
So
having PSP flashbacks. Sorry, what?
I just want to point out that in spring of 2008, we were talking about God of War and Burnout Paradise
Yeah,
and Smash Brothers.
Here we are,
10 years later.
10 years later. Same stuff.
Video
Yeah.
games, everybody.
That's 2 out of 3 on that one.
I gotta look at these Garfield screenshots while we do this
2008
segment.
may also be the first year that Fortnite was at E3.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Game made many appearances at that show.
All right, Lily, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having
We're going
me.
to excuse you, and we're going to take a quick break. And in just a moment, we'll be right back with Dan Stapleton so we can talk about reviews. Welcome back, everybody. Let's check in with the listeners.
Hey, listeners.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Listeners, remember you can always reach us at the email address gamescoop@ign.com, just like Phil from the UK did And he says, love the show. Just have a quick question, which I'm interested in. How is it decided who will review a certain game? With various offices across the world in the US, UK, and Australia, how is it decided which office gets which game? Here to tell us is Dan Stapleton.
Well, I think Justin and I can cover this one.
Whoever, when the check clears, that determines.
No, it is largely arbitrary. I mean, it depends on a bunch of factors, like who is available, like who is not bogged down with every other thing they have to do. Because a review is a big project, you got to put aside pretty much everything else and devote yourself to it, because there's not a lot of time to play a lot of game. And then you've got to capture the footage. You've got to write the review. You've got to put the whole thing together. So that's a big time commitment. It depends on who's available for it. Then within the pool of who's available, you have to look at who has the best knowledge. And if we have nobody on staff who has good knowledge of that particular game or franchise or genre, then we look for an external freelancer to handle it for us who is more knowledgeable.
Yeah, so if you play fighting games, racing games,
Sports games.
and you have a college degree in writing, please let us know.
Or I don't even care about the degree. If you can just write, you have to write.
You have to have a degree.
That's what it's come to.
I don't have a good degree.
To be a freelancer for Dan in this day and age.
No, like seriously, like if you know how to write, like I don't care who else says you know how to write if you know how to write. Yeah, and it's if there are conflicts, like if two people want to review the same game, then I review it. No,
they fight.
I do pull rank every so often. No, and like it does come down to seniority sometimes. The senior people will have first dibs but they have less availability because
There's very little clamoring unless it's a Mario game.
Right, or if there's some like super big thing like Horizon Zero Dawn or something like that, or like a Naughty Dog game of some stripe. Like they've got a bunch of fans of some of these big franchises that are dying to do it.
For fans of the genre.
Well, I think there's definitely an element of, actually, the four of us coincidentally have been at IGN a long, long time. But for some people that are newer, they want to review that year's Call of Duty or Battlefield or Zelda or Mario. Like I'm over. I'm content to not do that again. But that was an important thing when I was earlier in my career, to have the to do the high profile review and try very, very hard to do a really good job with it.
Yeah, and you want to make a name for yourself, get some exposure by having your name on a big review. That's what a lot of people notice.
For sure.
And hopefully impress your bosses along the way.
Yeah.
So
don't mess it up.
There are many more games coming out, today than there were 10, 15 years ago. Are we doing more reviews, or do we do about the same amount because most of those games our audience isn't going to be interested in?
Relative to 10 years ago?
Yeah.
I mean, we do a lot fewer reviews now than we did 10 years ago because
more games now,
video.
but fewer reviews.
Right. So video is a big reason for that. Like it takes a lot longer to do a review with a video component than it does to just write something. Also, we have more of an eye toward quality these days. We try not to, back then it was kind of the policy to get as many reviews done as possible. And in order to do that, there's a spectrum of quality versus quantity and, speed versus good. And back then the philosophy was to be more on the try and review absolutely everything side.
Yeah, that was policy when I started at IGN.
Right. Which
Before iPhone.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It's basically when there was just PlayStation, Xbox, GameCube, and PC. Like that was it.
Right. And those platforms had a much smaller amount of games coming out every month, every day. You look at Steam now.
No digital distribution at all then.
I think Steam's about 10 years. Steam came out in what, 2004? No, it was out a little bit before that. But anyway,
Did it launch with Half-Life 2?
It didn't launch with Half-Life 2. It launched as a component for Counter-Strike.
Okay.
But Half-Life 2 was the first game big game to require it.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it was around, but it took a while for it to really spin up as a third party, seller of third party games. It was just Valve at first, but and even once Steam was around, it still took a while for all these indie games to show up on it and just start flooding the store feed. And these days there are like 30 or 40 things released new every day on that platform.
Yeah.
To say nothing of like all the games on the Nintendo eShop and the Sony store and the Xbox store. So it's just impossible to keep up with that. So what we try to do instead is do better quality reviews on a smaller number of games, more curated we just pick out the ones that we think look like they have a potential to be good, because it's not really all that valuable to tell people this game that you never heard of that doesn't look very good isn't very good.
That's true.
We also have internal analytics that we use to make the determination whether our audience will care about a game by looking at the last game in that series or something like that.
Or if
so there's a lot of ways we use tools. We don't just use our innate knowledge.
Our
if we
gamer
preview
instincts.
something,
Gamerdar.
if we preview something and it does poorly, then we know people don't care. And that doesn't necessarily mean we won't review it if somebody on staff believes in it and thinks it's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, we always strike a balance between, delivering, like if someone comes to IGN.com, what are they expecting from us that day? Like we have to be covering the big news and the big reviews, but then we also strike a balance between being tastemakers and trying to, sometimes we'll put stories in our cover slots that are covering games that we know will click worse than something else, but because we believe in that game and it's important to us to champion it and be a place for someone can come to discover something new and interesting too. And if someone wants to give a game a 9 because it's really amazing and excellent, then we have to stand behind that, even if there's a short-term hit to the pages that'll get.
And like Celeste is a great example of that was pretty recent. Is that game wasn't really on my radar, but Tom Marks had seen it and knew it was something special just by looking at it, and really brought it to my attention and made sure we got to review it. And when that game that's not something that our audience had heard about. I don't know if we even previewed it in any significant way. So we took a chance on that one being something that we could convince our audience was something they should pay attention to.
And then reviewing a game like that presents another challenge of like marketing the review to the audience, right?
Right.
Which is something you've been trying recently, and actually putting the review score in the image, in the thumbnail for the review, right?
Right. It's something we're experimenting with right now.
Yeah.
And
just like Celeste review, what does that mean if you've never heard of this game? But if you see this new game is getting a 10, well, that's a little
right. And
maybe that is interesting to you.
Yeah, and that's actually what kind of kicked off this round of experimentation, because it's long been assumed like, oh, people don't want the score up front or we don't want the score up front because then people won't click in to see it.
That's not like an IGN thing. That's a journalistic idea, right?
It's not something we came up with.
Don't give away your story in your headline.
Right.
It's from newspapers. It's not from clickbait or the internet or anything like that. This goes back hundreds of years.
Right. So it's not burying the lead to some extent, but it's you don't want you want to entice people to read something early on without giving them everything up front so they just stop reading. Otherwise,
the first line of a short story is the most important one.
Exactly. You want to hook them in. But for a game like Celeste, like that whole thing, like people seeing something reviewed and wanting to know like, is this good or not, depends on them wanting to know something about that game. But if they know nothing about that game, then they have no reason to click on it. They don't even necessarily know when they're scrolling by like what it is. So when we first put that one up, we didn't put the score in the image, and we kept track of, we kept an eye on it anyway, and like not a whole lot of people were clicking on it. So like, okay, how do we convince people, hey, this is something special, this is something that we really believe in, that you should check out, even though you haven't heard of it before. So then we put the score in the image, and a lot of people clicked on it. So, and it's not, you can look at that cynically. It's like, oh yes, we got more clicks at it, but it's more about, hey, we found something we think is really cool and want to tell everybody about it. And just saying Celeste review wasn't getting that message out.
Yeah.
And we, so we did what we could to get that out there. Now, the tests that we're running now are to see like, when is that effective and when is it not? So, it could be that certain scores make sense to do that and others don't. People do like to see a train wreck. So
totally.
Those particularly low score
right.
can also be attractive.
They're so fun to read or watch. I mean, I love reviews of train wrecks.
The hypothesis, which we'll see if it's confirmed, is that very low scores and very high scores, putting those in the art will increase clicks, whereas middle of the road scores may not. But we'll see. That's why tests are fun.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like there's a new Minions game, and it gets a 5.5. It's like, well,
yeah. But if it gets like a 1.5, then you're like, I gotta see how bad this thing is.
Yeah. All right. This is Edward from London, Ontario.
Oh, Twist.
He says, greetings, Damon and the GameScoop crew. I've been a long-time listener of GameScoop as well as a long-time viewer of IGN in general, going back to checking out cheat codes for GoldenEye and Perfect Dark.
That's how we get everybody.
IGN 64.
I think Per Schneider probably wrote those.
I've always enjoyed your many articles, videos, and podcasts over the years. I simply can't thank you all enough for all the great content you guys have provided. Keep up the good work. I purchased Wolfenstein 2 when it came out in October last year, played the first 2 to 3 hours, after which I stopped playing as I lost interest in the story and the run-and-gun nature of the gameplay. It wasn't until I started playing it again last week that I came into the massive turning point of the game. This has happened to me on many occasions in my life, from video games, movies, TV shows, where I seem to stop just before the moment where the game clicks and really takes off. So my question to you is, has this happened to you? And generally speaking, how much damage does this do to a game if it doesn't really pick up until a few hours in? I realize that reviews and word of mouth can alert people to this happening in a game and to stick with it, but wanted to get your thoughts on this occurring.
You and I both just picked up Wolfenstein 2 again.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
Yeah,
I don't know
and
what
it's
part
like-
he's referring to, and it's probably a spoiler, so we don't need to talk about it. But
Yeah.
I just left off at a pretty cool part, and I picked that back up right away. I was like, oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the question.
Well, it also makes me think of Assassin's Creed Origins, which I think Justin and I both had the experience. I played several hours into it, and I was like, this isn't really grabbing me, so I moved on. But everyone who's played that game, has nothing but great things to say about it. So
I tend to. Edward was that his name?
Edward from Ontario.
Edward.
I actually kind of have the opposite experience of Edward, where sometimes there's games I'm enjoying enough. Like I was liking Assassin's Creed Origins. I liked the new South Park, but I didn't finish either one. I got halfway through. And what I've done my whole life, I'll pick that game up in a year, start playing it again, and probably stop at the same. There's some games I've played halfway through like 3 times, because 2 years later, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give that another shot.
I'm like that with Earthbound.
Then I pick it back up, and I'm like, at some point, I just need to trust my gut and be like, look, I don't have a rational explanation for why, but this is just not my cup of tea, and just, set it down and pick up something that I just ravenously can't get through, can't consume enough of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it really depends on the context. Obviously, if it's a review, it's like, well, I got to play through this all the way anyway, so I'm kind of determined. If I'm not, these days there's just such a wealth of possibilities out there. So I don't have as much patience for a game that takes time to pick up.
Yeah, I agree.
It's gotta come at me fast and impress me with something. Or at least make it entertaining to get to the good part. Don't
Or skippable. No, this is something that factors into, I think that's a problem that young writers have with reviewing games, is that you have to play through the whole game. So if you like the end of the game a lot, then you better explain that to people that are going to play the first couple hours or so and say, like, this is terrible. And like, I know we have had some like infamous reviews. One was for Final Fantasy X2, I think. It was a Ryan Clements review where he was like,
when there's like after 40
13.
hours.
Yeah.
yes, that's what it was. So it was like Ryan really liked the end of that game, but he really didn't like. It was like, it was 40 or maybe even 80 hours.
But that's like a pretty
it
common.
was like something crazy.
I don't know that we can even lay that at our reviewers' feet. Like, that's a meme about Final Fantasy 13, is that once that game opens up, after dozens of hours of kind of a slog, everyone kind of starts to enjoy it more.
Yeah, and so putting that in your review is really important. Saying like, if you can put up with the first 8 hours of The Witcher 3, it really pays off.
Yeah, and it's a lot to ask of people, I think, to play through. I hate that argument in reviews, and I will strongly
Guilty
push
of
back.
it.
Right. I think it is a common thing among JRPGs in particular, where they have just a very slow ramp up.
Absolutely.
But then people love them, and that's part of why I'm not a big JRPG guy. Is that
What's the other part?
No, I
don't like cute stuff. We know.
Yes, I don't have the patience to get through that. When there are other games I could be playing for that 8 or 12 hours while I'm waiting for that one to be good, I could be playing something that's already good.
You could probably do that with JRPGs. Just play something on your phone and just wait for the cutscenes to roll.
You see it with you see this with television shows a lot, but the excuse there is that the cast just came together and the crew just came together. So the first season, look, the first season's weird, but then this show's really good. And video games don't have that excuse really, because it's not like you make a game beginning to end.
Yeah, they do it the opposite way. In fact, in a lot of cases, they'll come back and do the intro after they've done everything else, because they've
people
learned.
see it.
Right. Well, they've learned so much in making the game that they're able to then come back and do or redo the intro to be more exciting based on all the
Especially
stuff
for
they've learned.
tutorials. They know what they have to teach people and stuff.
They know what they have to teach people, and they know how to impress people with what they can do.
For me, I have this much time in my life, and for those listening on the radio, I'm holding my hands a little ways apart.
6 inches, maybe.
That's how much time I have in my life, and in that time, I have to cram video games and comics and board games and TV shows and all the stuff I'm into. So it's like I don't have any patience for stuff that's like just okay. And it's not a reflection on like maybe it's someone else's favorite game on earth, but if it's not speaking to me, why would I give it, a second or third or fourth evening of my life? Like at the point where, again, like I can't articulate why I didn't like the second South Park, but I put it down in favor of something else. And it's like that alone is kind of an indictment of like I was done with it, right? Like,
And it's not necessarily that you didn't even like it. It's that you like something else more, or something else looked more
or at that
shiny.
moment.
That's right. Like when there are more A pluses than you can possibly ever get through, like I don't have the time or inclination to go through very many B pluses. Like I'm watching Steven Universe right now. And it's like, I think that show's amazing. It's incredible. I absolutely love it. So like, why would I ever play a game or do something that I didn't think was amazing and incredible that I absolutely love, that I just can't wait to watch the next chapter?
Yeah, and that actually gets to why people like to point out like, oh, you give high scores to everything. It's like, well, if you have you barely use the bottom half of the scale is what we get criticized for a lot. But if you have the stack of games is say 10 high and like evenly distributed, and you're not reviewing everything, you're only
that's the key.
Right. It's like the reviews that we do are not a random sample. We're doing the things that we think are going to be good.
If we reviewed everything still, we would be using the whole scale.
Yeah. A lot. So if you look at what comes out on Steam every day, there's a bunch of stuff in there that would definitely be in the bottom part of the scale.
And the reason why we review games that we think would be good, there's a little bit of explanation there too, which is very simple. It's the games we think that you might need to figure out whether you're going to play them or not because they look good to you too.
Right. They look good. Are they actually good? That's the question we're trying to answer.
Yes.
So then you expand that pile and it gets much deeper, and you're still only cutting off the same amount of games. It's like, you're going to get higher scores than you used to.
That makes sense. Edward has a PS for Sam. It says Sam mentioned in last week's show that he owned Mick Kids for NES.
Yeah.
That was one of the only games my brothers and I paused overnight to try and beat the game. Something I realized younger listeners of the show would have no concept of doing. We did that even here in the office.
I think we have a game paused right now.
Is it still paused?
Maybe.
Pear and a few of us have. There's the Super Inti, the really nice third-party Super Nintendo machine.
Yeah, it's just Super Nintendo, so it doesn't have save states.
Yeah, and then it plays Super Famicom games, so Pear brought in a bunch of his Super Famicom games, including Goemon 2, and we've been playing it overnight, and we get stuck on a boss, and you can't, save or anything, so we just leave it on overnight.
It's a really good game, too.
Very cool game. Wasn't ever released over here, that one in particular. All right, it's time to share what we've been playing. Who would like to go first?
We just finished Super Goemon.
Super Goemon 2.
I've been playing Into the Breach.
Still Into the Breach.
I still can't.
I like
put
Into
that
the Breach a lot.
It's a super addictive thing for me just because it's constantly throwing new puzzles at you. Every turn is a new puzzle. Every time you play with a different squad makeup, you've got 3 mechs, and it's a turn-based strategy game for people who haven't heard of it. But you get 3 different characters you're playing with. Each of them has different inherent abilities, but then you've also got those can be swapped out for other ones that you randomly get. You can also get different pilots you can put in them, which give them different abilities. So pretty much every playthrough is different and has different tactical possibilities that you have to adapt to and around.
You got good, right?
I got okay.
I saw you tweeting about
I saw you bragging.
Yeah,
I might have to crank
brag.
up the difficulty to hard.
Yeah.
Do we have any sense of how FTL was a phenomenon, right? Like that came out and sold like crazy, was a massive Kickstarter success. I don't feel like I'm hearing as many people talking about Into the Breach. Like there doesn't seem to be as much chatter on it.
I think
Do you know how it's doing?
FTL was a slow burn. Like it took a while for that one to gain momentum.
because the port to iPad and iOS and stuff was a big deal for it.
And that
it was,
came with
but-
a game update too.
But that was by the time that came around, everyone was already excited about it because a bunch
That's
of
true.
people already
I was
played it.
excited to play it then.
I only ask because I haven't played Into the Breach yet. I know whenever I do, I'm gonna go down that rabbit hole deep. But I just respect that the developer duo a lot, and I hope that game's doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if this one's going to achieve quite the FTL velocity, if you will.
Sure.
But it's definitely got its hooks in me. I've got like 90 hours in it at this point.
Goodness
I'm sure some of that is all tabbed out and looking at other things, but it's a good chunk of time I've spent playing that game.
Would you? Do you think you scored it accurately?
I think so. Yeah, gave it a 9.
And Sam, you've been playing Wolfenstein 2.
Yeah, I started Wolfenstein 2 again. I got to beat that game just because I want to see what happens in it. And then I played.
Feel good.
I played Florence on phone, which I really recommend. You guys play that game. It's about 45 minutes long. It won't take you long to play it. And then playing some old games. We played Legend of the Mystical Ninja. I've been playing Yoshi's Island at home on the analog NT, and it's really fantastic.
It's a really good game. I was also playing an old game this week. I've replayed Shadowgate, the original, because it was released last year as part of the 8-bit adventure anthology.
Yeah.
It's a good package. It's got Shadowgate, Undivided, and Deja Vu. So I just spent I beat it in like an hour and 45 minutes.
Game Fact, right?
The other night, I looked up a couple puzzle solutions on some game facts. But I remember that game took me like weeks to play through as a kid, and I can beat it, in less than 2 hours today. And then I saw the speed run. The world record speed run is like 11 minutes to beat that game.
Speedrunning adventure games.
Yeah. I mean, it's like
He clicked the wrong pixel.
you're like moving.
Restart
I know,
the
yeah.
run.
Like you're moving a cursor around with the D-pad, and the cursor only moves so fast. So you gotta have some patience for that one. But I have so many questions about the game. I love that game. You're exploring like an abandoned castle that's been taken over by an evil wizard, and there's just a few monsters around.
As the name says, Shadowgate.
Yeah. But in one of the areas, you go underneath the castle, and there's this underground lake that's being patrolled by a shark. Mm-hmm. And in the middle of the lake is a skeleton. The lake is only apparently waist high. So a skeleton is standing there holding out a key.
Cool.
But the skeleton is not reanimated. It's a skeleton. So, and then what you have to do is you get this sphere that you drop into the lake. It freezes the lake, so you can walk out and grab the key from the skeleton.
Yeah.
But like what? So there's a shark in the lake. There's enough food and fish in the lake to sustain the shark.
What's this lake's
somehow.
ecosystem?
Yeah, the skeleton. How did someone walk out to the middle of the lake?
Plunk the skeleton down there?
Held out.
Here's my
Did
theory.
someone put it there?
You said a wizard lives there?
Yeah.
I think the wizard thinks the skeleton looks cool.
Yeah. Well, but
And
what? So the skeleton was there when the wizard showed up?
No,
Wait, there was
the
a wizard
wizards-
there, so clearly the wizard did it.
yeah, the
Yeah,
wizard.
the wizard did it. Yeah, he's like, this is going to look awesome. My basement's going to have a pool with a shark, like James Bond style.
Okay.
And he's like, but wait, let's put a skeleton in there.
That would look pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, that makes a lot of sense. All right. I have no further questions.
You just. I restarted and been playing through Pillars of Eternity and having a tremendous
good.
time.
The
with
original,
it.
yeah.
The sequel's coming out, and I was getting a little anxious. I'm trying to play through the original before the sequel comes
Yeah.
out, and then
It got delayed, right?
And then it got delayed. It's perfect.
A
Got
reprieve.
some more time.
And that's actually an example of a game that I have tried playing 2 times now, and it's a little bit cursed. Like my computer broke halfway through one run, and but I'm sticking with it this time.
Because you
It's-
punched the screen.
punch the screen. No,
And built that computer.
a different computer broke. Like because that game.
That's why Dan.
You have a different computer?
No. 3 years ago when I played Pillars of Eternity,
gotcha.
at that time my computer broke.
I gotcha.
And to me, that's it's kind of a divisive game, but I think it's the best of all the computer RPG revivals.
Better
like that.
than Divinity.
Yeah, I like it more than Divinity. I like the real time with pause combat quite a bit more than Divinity's very slow, very plodding turn-based combat for my money. And I think the writing is significantly better too. And it strikes the exact right balance between being old school, Baldur's Gate style, while still having sort of the modern niceties you expect in a game in 2018.
And Pillars is on consoles. The first one now.
It is. I can't vouch for the quality of the
But-
console version, but I know they did some thoughtful stuff. Like it just feels like how in the world are you going to play an isometric RPG on console? But they did smart stuff with like just how they map the buttons, and it's supposed to be pretty good. But I haven't personally played it. The sequel's coming to Switch.
That is awesome. All right, now we need Divinity on Switch.
I'm in this really, really wonderful cycle of, I told you, I don't have a lot of times in the evening of Steven Universe and Pillars of Eternity and playing some board games, playing some Gloomhaven. That's what it's like. Sometimes, I don't know if you guys feel this way. Sometimes I go home and I'm like, I don't really have anything. Like, I'm not watching any shows right now. I'm not really just kind of browsing the internet. But now it's like I got 3 really good things going. So
That's good.
everything's coming up Millhouse.
You're in a groove. There's strong interest in some sort of board game discussion show.
It's the amount of comments on Board Game Scoop. My Gloomhaven party is continuing to go well for those that are sending me concerned tweets.
I'm glad to hear it. And now it's time to play Video Game 20 Questions. Our question this week comes from Chris. Let the questioning begin.
Could this have been in this issue of Hardcore Gamer magazine.
Well, but that game covered old games and new games.
Yeah, so it can only cover up to what they knew about at that time.
Up to 2008.
Okay.
So was it before 2008?
To answer Sam's question, no, this game could not have been in that issue.
He hits a homer. He hits a fly, right? Fly ball. What's the terminology?
Well, according to this, Devil May Cry 4 they knew about, so it's probably DMC.
That checks out. Or it's Smash for Wii U.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, I wonder if this is one of the ones that whenever I'm on, Damien usually tailors it specifically to me, so it's almost certainly on. Is it on PC?
Yes.
All right. So there we go. He gave me a fair chance.
Is it either exclusively on PC or generally thought of? Is it associated with the PC platform primarily?
No.
Okay.
Interesting.
But it did appear on PC.
Yeah, it's on
really
PC, but not a PC exclusive, and not generally thought of as a PC focused game.
Was this made in Japan?
No.
All right. I would ask you if it's a first-person perspective game, but apparently everything is. So I'm not even.
They argue about this outside of the show. So.
Rightfully so.
Yeah.
You could ask him would he consider it a first person.
But then he would say yes to everything.
If Fallout Shelter is first person, where are you?
Where
are you when you're
on this?
You're in a facility across the
You're
way.
the overseer.
You're
You're
across
looking
the
at
way.
it.
But it's in the middle of a mountain. It's digging down into the
Or
ground.
you're inside the facility looking at something, a camera view from over here.
You're
Let me
looking
ask you
at
this.
a really nice feed of all the rooms.
If you're playing that game in a first-person perspective, you're telling me that they all live in a facility with no wall? The wall is missing?
You-
from all
if
that
you
building?
have
It's
cameras-
glass.
If you're a
dumbass.
security guard at a mall, and
Yeah.
you're looking at multiple video feeds at once. That's what it's like.
So
Exactly.
that's what I'm saying. Like every game is a first-person perspective of somebody looking at a screen with that game on it.
No, that's different. Super Mario Brothers is not first-person perspective.
I'm looking at the screen.
But you're not you. You're Mario.
Did we win?
in that game.
Okay. Anyway, where were we?
Does this have multiplayer?
If it does, that's not what it's really known for, and that's not how it's usually played.
Can you see the character that you control on the screen?
No.
Yeah. Is it an RPG?
No.
Okay.
Is it part of a larger series?
Yes.
Is it a first-person shooter?
No.
But wait, so it is first-person, or at least you can't see your character.
No.
So I
isn't.
took that to mean first-person, but not a first-person shooter. So adventure game seems likely.
You cannot see your character, which it sounds like potentially a strategy game.
Strategy,
Although
yeah.
it's not
Strategy or adventure.
it's not thought of as a PC first game, so it's not an RTS.
Yeah. So are there any, like, I don't know, Telltale could be in the mix here?
Those games you see your player character on the screen.
Those you do.
You get a good point. But I'm trying to think of other. Okay, I mean, is it an adventure game?
No.
Okay.
That's 10.
You don't see your character. Not an FPS. Not an adventure game. Not an RPG.
Huh. Okay.
Does that count if your character's in a vehicle all the time?
What if you are a car?
If you were a car and you could have seen yourself, I would have said yes.
Okay, gotcha.
If you're playing a racing game like Gran Turismo, there's no drivers inside the cars. The cars are just empty. Are you the car? Who are you?
Yeah.
Or
You.
like Rocket League? I
Yeah.
think you're just the car, right?
Yeah.
Well, look, in this case, you cannot see the character you play as.
Then who was car?
Okay.
What's Car's name? I wouldn't mind getting genre down. It just seems like it'd be like we're almost there
Right.
with strategy and.
I mean, it could be a strategy game of some kind. But
Is this a strategy game of some kind?
No.
okay.
Well, so it's not a shooter, it's not a strategy game, and it's not
Adventure
adventure.
Or RPG.
or
But
RPG.
it's you
And there
can't
are
see your
first-person
character,
RPGs, so it knocks out.
so it's a
some of those.
puzzle game.
That's what it feels like.
Okay. How many questions are we on?
You've done 11.
Oh boy, really?
Yeah.
Is it a puzzle game?
Yes.
All right.
So it could be The Witness.
Could be the. Ooh, that's a really good candidate.
Could be what, Peggle 2?
Well, what are the popular exactly? Well, no, he said it's part of a series though.
Yeah. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did.
So it could be Peggle 2.
Could not be the witness.
After 2008,
Yeah. Peggle 2
you
was
wouldn't choose Peggle 2.
Peggle 2 is Xbox
He loves
One
Peggle
launch
2.
team.
I know.
Launch window.
Zuma.
could be Zuma. I like me some Zuma.
I know we're going too deep for what this game probably
Okay, but
is.
when I
It's
hear
part of a
puzzle
series.
game, there's two kinds of puzzle games, right? There's a matching blocks and making things disappear puzzle game, and then a puzzle game where you're like solving problems.
Right.
Is this a?
Well, how? Like you're saying,
I guess that's more of like an adventure puzzle game when we already said it's not an adventure game.
yeah. I mean, it's probably Candy Crush or something fun like that.
That's not on PC.
It's not on PC. Yeah.
But it's you're right.
Candy Crush is not in any way.
It might
Maybe
be
maybe there's a flash.
What about Bejeweled?
Bejeweled is on PC.
Is this the block matchy style of puzzle game?
Yes.
Okay.
Block
could-
Matchy.
So it could be Bejeweled.
After
could be-
2008, it's got to be.
I think
right?
Candy Crush is a really good bet.
But not on PC though.
Yeah, good point.
Unless it is, and we're just wrong.
Yeah, I mean,
So it's not Zuma, nor is it.
mean-
it's the Egyptian themed Zuma clone where you're shooting the marble. So it's not a marble shooting game. It's a block matchy game.
right. I mean, that does. I don't know if Peggle falls into because it's like matchy with.
No, that's Pachinko.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't see what this could be outside of Bejeweled and Candy Crush. But
Is it a PopCap game?
No.
Okay, it is not Bejeweled. It is not. It is not any of those.
and what are the more recent, like really popular Puzzly Joe games?
And it could be some variant of Tetris.
Yeah.
It could be Puyo Puyo Tetris.
Yep. That's a good one.
Could be Puyo Puyo Tetris.
But he said it wasn't made in Japan.
But and that's not on PC either. and it's-
Yes,
it
it
is.
is. Yes, it is.
They ported.
Oh, it is. That's really
They ported it recently.
That's really neat.
Yeah. And
Made in
Tom,
Japan.
Tom said that he said the port played flawlessly, but since there's no game quitting on Switch, you just press the home button. There's no way to close the game when you open it on PC. he had to
Alt F4.
Alt F4 out of it. I'm sure they patched that in, but like when he was playing it, that was how.
I love it. Well, we have a lot of questions to get to a puzzle game that's contemporary.
Yeah, I'm a little
Which
worried that we're
means
gonna blow
we'll-
it.
Yeah. I mean, we should absolutely get this one.
Is it?
Dr. Mario,
Is it?
Dr.
Wait,
Luigi.
wait. Is it? It's
No,
so
it
it's
wasn't
not.
PC.
It's block matchy. I mean, I said that half as a joke, but like that eliminates like threes and a lot of like the more popular puzzle games from the
Well,
last.
maybe,
few
do you think
years.
threes counts?
No, it's not block matchy.
It's not. Well, it is a matching game.
But it's not.
I would squares.
So it's not.
What
like
about Picross?
2048?
Picross. Well, that's
I wouldn't
not
call
on
that block
PC
matchy
either.
either. I wouldn't call threes.
PC
block
thing
matchy.
makes this really tough.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily rule out threes, especially since Damon thinks that Fallout Shelter is a first-person game.
Yeah. Does this game have maths in it?
Is there numbers? You messing with numbers in this game?
No.
Okay, now I would rule out threes.
That's 50.
And 2048. Do you guys know that threes has an ending? Do you know
I
this,
heard
David?
that, yeah.
Have you seen the
think
video?
We talked about this. I haven't seen it,
Oh, it's so good.
but
Is there? Do we need to know if it's on Steam or not?
I'm still trying to think about did Candy Crush or something like that come to
Right.
PC? Is this generally thought of as a mobile game?
yes.
Okay.
So there's like, I mean,
So,
there's like two dots. There's Candy Crush,
Angry Birds.
the Angry Birds.
That's not matchy. I mean,
Cut the rope.
who makes Candy Crush? It's King, right? So we can ask if that's the developer.
Is this made by King?
Yes.
You crushing candy in this game?
Yes.
Sick Candy Crush.
There you go.
Before Candy Crush came to mobile in 2012, it came to PC.
I did not realize that.
Dun 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 dun.
Oh, I'm glad you guys got there.
Then they got bought by Activision for like $500 million.
It was more than that. It was like $2 billion or something
was
like that. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, I think the full title is actually Candy Crush Saga. Developed and published by King, 2012, PC and mobile game.
There are two Candy Crush sequels.
I was wrong. Yeah, that's why I said it's part of a series.
Yeah,
even
that's
though
great.
no one, I
Candy Crush Soda Saga.
don't think they were.
So I know about Soda Saga.
I don't think they were as popular though, were they?
Oh,
They're still going strong.
There's
I
ads
think it's
there's
one of those
ads on
things
Subway
where it
for
just has like a low level of popularity that just never goes away. It's been replaced maybe a little bit by like Gardenscapes is a big hit.
Who was trying to trick us with that one?
That was Chris.
Ah.
He said we don't do very many mobile games, so and it's one of the most popular games in the world. So.
Yeah.
Is it still? I don't-
Yeah.
I don't
That's what I was saying. Like it's one of those things where like I see people playing that and Pokemon Go on my bus every day. People play the bus stops because if you're moving in a vehicle, Pokemon Go knows you're moving too fast to be on foot, so it won't really let you do it. But at bus stops, I see people like getting what do they call the Poke stops and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's true. And Dan, to clarify, when the game was Fallout Shelter, and Justin's question was, "Is this game played from a first-person perspective?" I said, "I think that's how you're supposed to think about the game." It wasn't like a hard yes. Although if it's not first-person, I would like to know what it is.
That is a God view game.
Dan invented this term.
Which again,
to win this argument with you, Dan invented that term this morning.
I definitely did not.
So I would like to know what Justin thinks about this real quick before we go. In Populous, you are a deity looking down on your people and affecting their lives. Is that a first-person game?
I mean, in the case of Populous, probably yes.
Oh,
But wait. So different RTS games handle this in a different way.
I understand.
Like some have you're in some like mothership looking
Sure.
down on the battlefield directly, but then some people just don't bother. They hand wave away the perspective of what you're seeing, and it's just an abstraction for you being some battlefield commander, running the show.
Yeah.
And every RTS is that perspective, and you are playing as the commander, but it's not a first person perspective because your character is not actually floating up there.
But sometimes they are. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, in like black and white technically.
Yep.
All right. So let me.
I don't know. I think if you were actually viewing, through the eyes of a god, you would see everything because you're omniscient.
But the game is just showing you one. The game Populous is just showing you one view at a time. They're not showing you everything else.
In Super Tecmo Bowl, if you choose the Bears, are you Mike Ditka?
Are you the coach?
Yeah.
No, because you control the player.
As the coach?
But, yeah.
You're the whole
coach
team.
is the one that told the players what to do before they started the play.
You're the coach when you pick the play, and then you're the quarterback when you throw the ball.
So
You're the ghost of Mike Ditka inhabiting the bodies of the players.
He
possesses them.
They stiffen up and shamble to their positions.
It's a lot like Mario Odyssey in that respect.
I like that you picked Tecmo
those are
Bowl and
similar
not
games.
Madden, by the way.
Yeah, well.
All right, that is all the scoops that we have for you this week. Remember, you can always reach us at the email address gamescoop@ign.com. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Dan. My name is Damon. This is IGN Gamescoop, and we're out.